Trinity 5 is where we are in the Anglican calendar. Sunday the 12th of July. I remember to write it on the sheet this week. A harvest story. Little bits of Matthew chapter 13, 1 to 9, 18 to 23. That's what will be coming up in a little bit. For now, as ever, the news. It wouldn't be Anglican if it wasn't news or notices, would it? Firstly, the Church of St. David's is going to be open for private prayer. Hurrah! St. David's is going to be open for private prayer. We're going to be doing it on Sundays, 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock, and then Wednesdays, 10 o'clock until 12, 2 until 4, and 6 until 8. We thought about Synod, but there's some building work going on there. We thought about St. Paul's, a little bit small. St. David's passed the risk assessment, but it will be very different. 2 meters apart is the rule, and that really quite restricts what we can do. But when you enter the church, there'll be somebody there to help you. You need to obviously hand sanitize. You'll be able to pick up my talk for the week, or Reverend Glenda's done a little personal liturgy sheet. You could take one of those and sit down and read through, or you can just enter the church and sit quietly. There will be a slideshow going on and some quiet music. We tried to think, what can we do? What can we do with the restrictions? And so we've given you some options, and you can stay for as long as the church is open. You can stay in the grounds, or you can just pop in for 5 minutes and then nip off. Either myself or Reverend Glenda will be there to have a chat with you. So St. David's is going to be open for private prayer. It will be a bit different, but at last, it's open, it's open. Right, secondly, just want to say thank you for the money that you keep sending in. Cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. Any small business will say that is what keeps you alive. And we have had cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, because you have been brilliant in, though there is no public worship, you have continued your giving, and that has been absolutely amazing. Rick the Treasurer is going to do a write-up as a thank you, because he's been blown away by your generosity. There are sadly many churches struggling, really struggling in these times because of cash flow issues, but not us, and that is all down to you. So thank you very, very much. The homework, you keep sending me homework, you keep answering all the questions, and that is brilliant as well. What I wanted to also say was, you know, when you're reading the stuff, when you're going through the Bible, maybe you've got questions that bubble up. Send me your questions as well, and then we can sort of work through those and all learn together. So if you've got any questions that bubble up, maybe from my questions or from the Bible passage of the day, then let me know, and we will work through them as well. Next, Tuesday Zoom coffee morning. Going to keep that going, 3 o'clock this coming Tuesday. Let us know if you want to join, and I'll let you know the password, and you can join in with that. It was just a great time to see everybody on the screen and to just have a chat, just see how you are, touch base. So that's going to continue. Over to today, Kevin is going to be reading for us today. Before he does, I want to say this. Over the last few weeks, Kevin has been absolutely brilliant, and I just want to sort of say a public thank you. Who knew that his degree in German and philosophy would make him ideal for understanding risk assessment and reopening churches during a pandemic? But, you know, I've really struggled with some of this paperwork and this thinking. Kevin, he's just eating it up. And so as a reward, he gets to read the Bible reading for today. So over to you, Kev, for today's Bible reading from Matthew.
This week's reading is from Matthew. About the same time, Jesus left the house and sat on the beach. In no time at all, a crowd gathered along the shoreline, forcing him to get into a boat. Using the boat as a pulpit, he addressed his congregation, telling stories. What do you make of this? A farmer planted seed. He scattered the seed. Some of it fell on the road, and the birds ate it. Some of it fell in the gravel. It sprouted quickly, but didn't put down roots, so when the sun came up, it withered just as quickly. Some fell in the weeds. As it came up, it was strangled by the weeds. Some fell on good earth and produced a harvest beyond his wildest dreams. Are you listening? Really listening? Study the story of the farmer planting seed. When anyone hears news of the kingdom and doesn't take it in, it just remains on the surface. And so the evil one comes along and plucks it right out of that person's heart. This is the seed the farmer scatters on the road. The seed cast in the gravel. This is the person who hears and instantly responds with enthusiasm. But there is no soil of character. And so when the emotions wear off and some difficulty arrives, there is nothing to show for it. The seed cast in the weeds is the person who hears the kingdom news. But weeds of worry and illusions about getting more and wanting everything under the sun strangle what is heard, and nothing comes of it. The seed cast on good earth is the person who hears and takes in the news and then produces a harvest beyond his wildest dreams.
Thanks for that, Kev. Right, my thought on the reading that Kevin just read out for you. I try to stay informed as a clergyman, so I don't end up getting caught up in the many echo chambers that we find in day-to-day life. I will leave as an exercise for the reader for you to find out what an echo chamber is and how they work. To do this, I read the newspaper, I watch the television news, I check in with Christian news websites, and I also read the New Scientist magazine. You can get it from the library, as well as doing my daily Bible study. My aim is this. If you want to have a chat with me about anything, then hopefully I'll know a little bit about it, and therefore I'll be able to keep up with you. You know, anything. We chat about anything. I'm occasionally caught off guard, like last week, when I went to find a picture off the internet to advertise Reverend Glenda's new craft club. I typed crochet into the internet, and this whole new world appeared to me. I was expecting blankets and maybe little fluffy animals, but I found out that people actually make their own clothes by crocheting them, and that included fellas as well. I mean, it was a whole new world. And he wrote up, the other day, a Christian website was saying that it seems like in the education system there's a very narrow view of the creation of the world. The theory of evolution, that is that the whole world and me and you are just the product of chance and accidental genetic mutations and happenings over a vast amount of time, that is more and more presented as unequivocal fact, whereby the equally interesting idea of an intelligent designer is not allowed to surface. My friend Phil, who's a doctor and looks down a microscope for a living, I've mentioned it before, he's told me he sees evolution and adaptation down there, but he's also a Christian and he knows that God is absolutely real and behind things too. I think that these ideas of evolution and intelligent design are great when presented as a pair to get people thinking, but it seems that only one is generally heard in day-to-day life. For me as a teenager, I mean, this is quite pertinent because I went to church and I just didn't listen. But one of the things that intrigued me was I knew from my science lesson that my body was just cells and chemical reactions, and it just did its thing. But I couldn't shake the idea that I was real and more than a biological machine just reacting with my environment. I was happy to run with the idea that the planets just formed as exploding stars threw debris into the unknown. But trees and women, they really caught me short. I just couldn't look at a tree or a woman and accept that these things were accidental and not created by an intelligent designer who frankly was quite amazing. Quite amazing. There's an oak tree on the way to Puth Call. Every time I used to drive past that, I used to just in wonder. It strikes me as a little odd that we talk about living on the moon or Mars when this planet is perfectly tuned to our needs. Evolutionists would argue that's a non-argument, as we evolved in symmetry with this planet. So what would you expect? What would you expect? I'd take the other tack, and I'd say that the symmetry is there because God made each one of us, and then he made the world for us to live in as well. So the same designer, yeah. You can see that over a long night of beer drinking and discussion, this argument would never move somebody from their starting point, because the same evidence can be taken in two different ways and perfectly argued from whenever you start. For me, though, bits of Bible like we have today skew the argument. We have Jesus, who I would label as the son of the intelligent designer of the world, telling us how to view things. The way that Jesus always conducts himself and presents his arguments suggests that he understands completely the way that humans work. It's like he's got insider knowledge. The parable of the sower is one of the many stories, that's what we had today, that Jesus told to help people get it. Indeed, the parable, a story about something typically human that brings out a truth about God and his works, that was actually invented by Jesus. There were sayings and proverbs that came before him, but the parable as a mechanism for teaching, that was all down to Jesus. Jesus was the one who invented it. In the parable of the sower, Jesus takes the imagery of the known world of his listeners, farmer, seed, birds, road, gravel, weeds, good soil, all that kind of stuff they would have seen around them. And he uses that to help people understand what is going on around them from a godly perspective. He explains that at any one time and regarding any one subject, we are like one of the four types of soil. So me and you today, we're going to be like one of those four types of soil. As road soil, we sometimes hear, but the message bounces off. As gravel soil, we hear, and the message sinks in, but it can't sink in deep enough. As weedy soil, we hear, and the message sinks in, but it's lost due to worry and stuff like that. But good soil, we hear, and we learn, and we change, and we live abundantly after that. The parable is obviously centered on the gospel message that God is real, and the intelligent designer who made the world, and that Jesus is his son, who is our big brother, who has saved us from ourselves with his teaching and death. But I think it's also true of other things too, when you think about it. We have more facts in the world than ever before, but the way people cherry pick them, when you dig deeper, shows these four soil behaviours. I mean, if your job and therefore mortgage depend on a particular field being valid, what would you do with any evidence that suggested that the field was deeply flawed? Echo chambers. I could waffle on forever on this subject, but I will just encourage you to take heart if you feel sometimes that believing in God makes you somehow less of a logical, robust thinker, and that you need to sign up with the prevailing cultural ideas like evolution to be seen as credible. Ideas come and go. Just notice that every time that Jesus talks, he talks as somebody who obviously knows how things work, obviously knows what is going on, and can see clearly how things pan out. He knows all that not by chance. He knows all that, not by chance, but because he was around when the world was made, and he has seen the blueprints for creation. So if you think like him, it's a good thing, even if nobody agrees with you. I don't know if he's any good at crochet, though. The jury is out on that one. The Bible doesn't tell us anything. If Jesus was good at crochet. Probably was. Right, let's have some questions to sort of help us sort of think about that. And like I say, if any questions come to mind after my thought and the Bible reading, let me know, and we can sort of think about those things as well as the weeks go on. Question number 1 of 4. What do you make of the theory of evolution? What do you make of the theory of evolution? What do you think of it? Do you know anything about it? Number 2. What do you make of the intelligent design thinking? What do you make of the idea that there is a designer, an intelligent designer behind everything? We'd call him God. What do you make of that? Number 3. Do you have people who make fun of your faith? Because you maybe believe that God made everything, do you have people who sort of like chortle at you, or maybe just sort of talk behind your back? Do you? It's happened to me. Number 4, do you see this parable working itself out in people that you know? If you thought about yourself and other people, could you see the different types of soil that you and they were being at the moment? People change, soil types change, but do you see this parable working itself out in people that you know? 4 questions for you. Right, today's song. What is it? Why did I pick it? Well, some people say that the farmer in Jesus' parable is a bit rubbish because he scatters the seed not just on the good soil, but on places where he knows it's not going to grow. He knows it's not going to grow. But this, though, is the way that God works. He sends rain on the naughty people and on the nice. It is the goodness of God. The goodness of God. And there is such a song about this called The Goodness of God. Bethel Worship have recorded it. So I'll put the link in the talk for you, and I'll bolt it on the end as well. Jen, who's singing this, I just love the enthusiasm. You get the feeling that she knows the goodness of God, and that is why she's singing about it. Right, prayer for today to finish off. Hands together, close your eyes, and we'll close speaking to God. Dear God, thank you that in the way that we see Jesus interacting with people, we can know that you are the intelligent designer and that Jesus is your son. Help us to understand when we do not know what is going on. Amen. Right, everybody, some things coming up. Zoom coffee morning, Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Let us know if you want to join that. St David's is opening Sundays and Wednesdays. Be more than welcome. And as a heads up, on the 26th, so that's Sunday the 26th, Reverend Glenda, our new shiny curate, is going to be doing this Sunday session. It's not going to be the same as what I do. So more about that next week. But until we meet, we might actually meet in a church. Stay safe. Stay safe, everybody. See you soon.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. And all my days I've been held in your hand. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Of God, I love your voice. You will lead me through the fire, and in darkest night, you were close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived of God. Yeah. And all my life you have been faithful. Oh, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Yeah. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running, it keeps running after me. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness